Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be speaking with Mr. John Gumas, who is the founder and CEO of Gumas, which is a branding and advertising agency here in San Francisco, but they, of course, operate in many different parts of the world. He has written a fantastic book talking about an important marketing topic called the Challenger brand. If you're interested in that, we will include some links on how to view that as well. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk to him about his experience, especially his experience at SF State, because I'm sure we're all curious as to how that was. So, John, thank you for being here. We're going to get started with our first question. And really, that would be, what led you to pursue a career, your entire career in marketing, and how did SF State's marketing college kind of affect that decision?
Yeah, it's in every way would be the simple answer to that. And when I was a student here at San Francisco State, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I took my first advertising class in the business school that I finally, first time in my life, there was a subject that I loved. I just had a passion for it, and I loved it. And I wanted to learn more about it, so I got involved. Back then, it was called the Advertising Club. So I got involved with the Advertising Club, and ended up making my major, advertising within the business school. So I have a lot to thank San Francisco State for.
Okay. Now, did you have any interest in marketing prior, or was that really that kind of advertising class the game changer?
It was. I didn't, and I went into the business school because at the time I thought, well, business seems like a really good major. That it crosses a lot of verticals, and it'd probably be a good thing to know. And luckily for me at San Francisco State, advertising and marketing is part of the business curriculum. Mm-hmm. So as one of my prerequisites at the beginning is I had to take a marketing then an advertising class. Gotcha. And that's when it really that's when I fell in love.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really reassuring to hear that you didn't know what you wanted to do when you arrived at SF State, because I think that's one of the main problems we all have. Hopefully it's not that way when we become seniors, but for some of us that is still the case.
Well, it is normal, right? It is normal,
yeah.
And I think for any student, your number one objective is to figure out what you have a passion for. If you figure out what you have a passion for and you're lucky enough to do that as a career, mm-hmm. then you never have to work a day in your life because you love it. If you're doing something you don't like, that's tedious. That's work.
Yeah.
That's horrible in my opinion. But if you're lucky enough to find something you love doing, mm-hmm. and which when you're in school, that's something you should keep your eye open for. What is it that really motivates me?
Sure.
And try to turn that into a career.
Fantastic advice, honestly. And so, given that you found your passion, found an interest, how did you get your start in the advertising industry? And what motivated you to start your own agency?
Yeah, I don't think my story is that typical, but it shouldn't be that atypical either. Mm-hmm. So while I was at San Francisco State, I was very involved with the Advertising Club, which now is the Marketing Association. Mm-hmm. And I got very involved, and because of that involvement, I was lucky enough to get some very significant internships at large advertising agencies. And during the course of that time, there were I would be sitting in these meetings, these big agencies, and prospective new clients would come in. There were smaller companies or great ideas that were just starting out, and the agency owners and the key people in the agency. One of the questions they would ask every single prospective customer coming to their agency is, "What's your budget?" And they would throw out a number, and I can just sense the agency owners laughing, and they would tell these people, "Nah, that's not enough money. Sorry, we can't help you." And this happened time and time again, and these folks would leave, and I always thought, they have great ideas. What a great business opportunity. Mm-hmm. So one day I'm walking one of these folks out that I was particularly interested in that had a great idea. So I asked them as we were walking, I was escorting him out of the agency. I go, "So what are you going to do? How are you going to take this?" He says, "I don't know." And we had a nice conversation. He looks at me, he says, well, what about you? Can you help me? And that's when I had the idea to start my own company.
That is seriously awesome. That was the start of your company, and that's how things work through conversations.
Yeah.
I never thought. Now, so given that, and you kind of have already given some advice for students, people who are thinking about marketing or just getting a job in general, but what advice, more specifically, would you give to someone who's interested in pursuing a career in advertising or marketing? Specific or broad advice would be great.
Yeah, and I think it's hard when you're a student, and I remember you don't have confidence in yourself, you don't have experience, all right, which for an employer is important. So then the question is, how do you convince that person you're talking to take a shot?
Sure.
Right, to take a shot, and the one thing I believe is, we're all human beings, and there's certain people that you meet that you like, certain people you trust, you feel good about. When you're interviewing somebody, be the person that they look at and go, wow, there's a good guy. Yeah, you know what, I like him. I think you know what, he's just, I can trust him. He'd be a good person that we can teach. So that's the first thing. Just create a human conversation, but go in there prepared. Don't go in there and say, so tell me what this company does. I mean, if you came to my company and said that, I would politely, ask, say this is done, we're done.
It's going in the trash.
It's going in the trash
point, yeah.
because if you didn't take the time to learn about my company, then you know what, I'm not going to take the time to talk to you. So it's this mutual respect. Learn something about the company, learn something about the individual, learn something about what motivates them, find out maybe some successes they had, and say, wow, I love that campaign you did for X company. That was phenomenal. Can you tell me how you came up with that? Create a conversation, right? Just like you would with anybody you meet. Although it can be intimidating, right, when you're interviewing somebody, but turn the interview into a conversation and get them to know you as a person, and get them to feel comfortable with you. So, and that's important, especially when you don't have the experience. So you say, I used to work at this company and I can bring that experience here, but let them know that, I'm willing to work hard, I'm very trustworthy, and I'll be a great addition to this company. So you have to convince them. You only convince them if you have a personal one-on-one conversation.
Totally, and everything you just said totally aligns when I speak to friends who have gotten the internships or the jobs. It is the conversational aspect of the interview that seals the deal for them every time, and that's always what they tell me.
And it's hard because you want the internship, but not all internships are right. Don't let the interviewer know this, but you should be interviewing them too in your own way. Is this a company that I'd like to be part of? Is this something, a culture that I want to be part of? So, it's about you too, so you don't want to put yourself in a position where it's not a good fit, because if it's not a good fit, that's just destined to fail.
Right. And so, again, tailored more towards these people who would use this advice or who are looking for jobs. What skills do you think are really most important for aspiring marketers, aspiring professionals in today's job market? And did SF State help you with some of those skills to develop those?
Yeah, well, those are two big questions, and I'll try to remember both of them here as I answer.
No worries. I can remind you.
No, that's okay. But skill-wise, right? It's be yourself. Be yourself. It's in branding, because a company has a brand. We all have an essence. We all have our own brand, and you have to be yourself. And the moment you're not yourself, is people can see right through that. The moment a brand tries to reposition itself or remessage itself in a way that's not true to the essence of who they are, you can see through it. And so it's be true to yourself. And advertising, marketing is one of those categories where there's so many skill sets. All right, if you can be in analytics and research, you can be in creative, you can be in media, you can be, account management. They're all very different types of mindsets and very different paths within the industry.
Sure.
So you have to know what you want, or at least when you're talking to someone that you're looking for your first job, at least have a vision of what you want to do. Because if I'm talking to somebody and they, like we said earlier, if they say, "I don't tell me about your company," well, and I'll ask them, one of the questions, well, what do you want to get involved with? And they say, "I don't know, I just want to get in advertising." I know at that point they didn't do their research.
It's not compelling.
It's not compelling, and so prepare, right? Know about the company, know about what you want to do. If it's the creative side, say, I'm really interested in creative and how you develop messaging and how you do it. And that's what I'm hoping to learn more, and that's where I think I can contribute. So be as specific as you are, and the person on the other side typically will appreciate that and know that you've thought it through.
And so, while you were at SF State, you mentioned how the school, it directly influenced your path. But as far as becoming confident, becoming an authentic person, someone who kind of knows who they are, at least to some extent, how did this school kind of influence that change in you?
Yeah, first of all, the instructors, the professors here at San Francisco State are real good. When I was coming here, they had real world experience. And because there is a difference between what you learn in the classroom and what the real world is. And it's a weird phenomenon when someone starts paying you money. It's a whole different dynamic, right? That happens. So the professors I had here had real world experience, so they can kind of weave that into the book and what you're learning in the book, which is really important, right? You have to know that, but it's how you weave that into the real world, and then how you connect it yourself, right? To create who you want to be. Whether if you want to have a career in marketing and what that is, or you want to go on your own and create your own thing. What is that? What's it look like? So San Francisco State's a really incredible place. And everyone that goes here, has gone here, should be really proud of being, having a degree from San Francisco State. Because I can tell you in the marketplace, there's something special about the students here. They work harder. They appreciate what they have. They have a drive that not all graduates have. Yeah. So there's a uniqueness to the essence of a San Francisco State student, and the marketplace is realizing that more and more. So be proud of that. Be really proud of that and emphasize that.
Well, thank you, and that's really good to hear because I'm sure many of the students here feel that kind of pressure being around the UCLA's, well, not here, but UC Berkeley, Stanford. And so seeing you as an example is incredibly encouraging. So yeah, I'll definitely be more proud about my school from now on. And again, you've touched up on this a little bit, but I want to kind of drive maybe or elicit some more responses from you. How could students differentiate themselves from other job candidates when they are applying for marketing or advertising positions? Because that's hard. Being authentic is one thing, but how do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I use the word differentiate as much as I would use authenticate.
Gotcha.
And it is, it's hard to have that confidence when when you're starting out. Because the hardest job you will ever get in your life is your first one, right? In the industry you want to go, it's the hardest one, and you will tend to almost say what you have to say, be who you have to be to try to get that first job.
Oh yeah,
and that can be a little slippery of a slope because you tend to you become someone you're not in that interview, and it becomes pretty obvious. But again, I'd go back to what I said earlier. Just be yourself. Have the confidence, apply for internships that you're comfortable with, do your research, understand what that company is, what they do, what their culture is, and more importantly, the individual you're meeting with, get a little sense of who they are. Do some research, do some background, and then turn the interview into a conversation. Right? Ask them questions, ask them things that get them to talk. So they can see your personality. They can get some insight into who you are as a person, because you're talking to another human being, right? There's two human beings talking, and make it a great conversation, because if they like you as a person, they will see the benefit of you being in their company, and they will see the benefit to them in giving you a shot. So look at it from that way, and I know it's not easy, but have some confidence in yourself. And the more research you do, the more you know, the more confidence you will have going into that interview.
Literally could not agree more. I've definitely gone into interviews with mistakenly believing that it was the facts that I needed to present or what was on the paper, but the impact that the conversation has on your future employment is insane. So
Yeah.
totally agree with you there. And, you know, John, looking back on your career so far, which is quite extensive and very successful in my opinion, what do you see really as the key factors that have contributed to your success in the advertising industry?
Well, I think, first of all, probably at the heart of it is having a unique methodology that other advertising agencies didn't have. Mm-hmm. And it kind of goes back to the story I told you about when my first client, and that is we created this methodology called Challenger Brand Marketing. Because we coined these companies that were up-and-coming companies or companies that are competing against larger companies. And larger can be defined as you know, more money to spend in marketing, larger sales forces, more store locations, more of anything, right? If you don't have as much as the larger person, you're a challenger brand. So we coined this and we trademarked this terminology called Challenger Brand Marketing. So when we go and talk to a company, we're unique. So, you know, marketing is this idea of you're in a field, right? There's a lot of options. We're all sheep, mm-hmm. or same color. Let's say we're white sheep. When you look out on the field of those white sheep, they all look alike.
Yeah.
And well, how do you pick the one that you like most? Unless there's a sheep out there that's pink, or blue, or black, or gray, they stand out. And if they stand out for the right reason, now you know you're going to it's going to draw your attention. So the idea of challenger brand marketing resonated. And we were different, and we knew who we wanted to talk to, and that's how we positioned the company. So it's whether it's a company like this or it's an individual, it's this idea of how are you going to differentiate, you know, authenticate yourself towards true, because we live for challenger brand marketing. It's our essence, it's our soul, and when we talk to somebody, they know that. And so we're not making anything up, right? The authenticity comes across. So if there's one thing, I would say it's that. It's just really understand who you are, create a position that's unique, mm-hmm. and go forward from there.
John, that was fantastic. That may have been my favorite response of all the questions we asked here. I think your company is really interesting, especially as you've explained your unique approach to helping clients and your approach to marketing. And I really do appreciate you coming out, having this chat. Educating me, giving me advice, as well as everyone else who will be watching this in the future, all the other students. So I want to say thank you so much for coming out.
My pleasure.
This was great. Yeah, if anyone would like to connect with John in the future, I'm sure there will be a way to do that. And I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.